Great. Okay. So. Good afternoon. I am not sure whether I will get a moderator. So I will introduce myself and I will start because I think we are already after the announced time. So my name is Ima Placencia. I work at the European Commission in the unit that is responsible for the Union Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and the Disability Strategy. I coordinate the disability team, and my main area of work is on accessibility. With this presentation, I'm going to do two things. First, I will give you a flavor and an overview of the latest strategy that we have adopted almost 2 years now on the rights of persons with disabilities. And second, I will focus on one of the initiatives of the strategy, which is related to the implementation of accessibility. In the previous session that we just finished now, I presented the some key legal instruments on accessibility, and now I will share with you some practical measures that we are taking for that. But first of all, we can go to the next slide. I don't have, so I depend on someone that puts the slide on, the first slide on. Can I get the next slide? Perfect. Okay. So the strategy for the rights of persons with disabilities was adopted by the Commission, the European Commission, in March 2021. And with the strategy, we aimed, on one hand, to implement the UN Convention in Europe, in areas which are under competencies of the European Union, but also to help and support member states in their endeavors to implement the convention. Oh, great, thank you, thank you. To implement the convention, and in addition to implement it within our own EU institutions. So, how does the strategy looks like? The strategy contains 8 areas of work and a number of flagship initiatives that I would mention briefly, but before, the areas of life. The priority areas are accessibility is the first one, and accessibility is presented as an enabler of rights, and in order to build a barrier-free Europe. The focus on accessibility in this period, in these coming years, is on implementation. We have taken quite a number of measures, legal and policy measures, and now we really need to advance on the implementation. The second area is about enjoying of EU rights. EU citizens have certain rights by just having the nationality of one of the member states, and those relate to free movement and participation in the democratic processes, for example, in elections in the European Parliament. The intention is advanced so that persons with disabilities will be able to enjoy those rights, those EU citizenship rights, on equal basis with other persons. The third area is about quality of life and independent living. It is about getting access to jobs in the open labor market that are of quality. And for that also to get before the necessary skills in order to compete in the labor market. And by having a proper job, having participation in society, to be able to live independently, to live in the community, preparing the communities to embrace the living of persons with disabilities on equal basis with others. So this right needs to be really put in practice. The fourth area is about equal participation and non-discrimination, and it is non-discrimination in all areas of life. We're talking here about access to justice, access to health, access to education, where we know that persons with disabilities are at a disadvantage, and there are gaps in terms of enjoying the rights between persons with and without disabilities. But also it's about protection from non-discrimination. The Commission made a proposal already in 2008 to pass a directive protecting persons with disabilities, among others, from discrimination in the area of access to services, and this proposal is pending since then. So we will continue supporting the adoption of this directive. The fifth area is about promoting the rights of persons with disabilities globally. The EU is the biggest donor of in development cooperation, and we do many programs on that relates to activities, whether it is humanitarian aid, whether it is development cooperation, whether it is enlargement work with neighborhood countries, emergency responses. In all those areas, the rights of persons with disabilities are to be respected and enforced. The sixth area is about efficiency and delivery of the strategy. This is about the instruments that we use. It's about mainstreaming, it's about EU funding, but it is also about monitoring, reporting, and it's about accountability of the strategy itself. In the seventh point, we do about leading by example, and here is where we put forward the work that we do in the EU institutions. In relation to our own employees, persons that work in the Commission that have disabilities, acquire disabilities, but also persons that have family members with disabilities, how to accommodate, how to ensure that the rights are respected. But also, in this area, we have a section on accessibility. Accessibility to our buildings, accessibility of our information, our websites, and that with the idea to connect to the public so that persons in Europe with disabilities would be able to interact with the EU institutions on equal basis with others. Finally, we have the area on awareness raising, governance, and measuring progress. Here again, we will work on the monitoring, on the reporting, on seeing how our activities, the actions that we set for us, and the actions in which we call the member states to take initiatives are being fulfilled or not. So with these 8 areas, we are accompanying them with 7 flagship initiatives. The first flagship initiative is about creating a disability platform. This is a formal expert group in which we have member states, civil society, including organizations of persons with disabilities, to discuss about the strategy, to discuss the implementation, and to take common action. We set up last year, launched by the Czech presidency, a package to improve labor market outcomes of persons with disabilities. It is about guiding the process of improving and closing the gaps between the employment rates of persons with and without disabilities, but also improving the activity rates of persons with disabilities. Here, with this package, there are reports, guidance documents, for example, for public employment services, about reasonable accommodation, about positive measures, quite a number of measures. Then we have the European Resource Center on Accessible EU. Here is where is the flagship that I'm going to tell you a little bit more in detail in a minute, and it is about supporting member states, supporting the implementation of European accessibility law, making sure that accessibility, that those laws, those policies become a reality. The fourth one is about guidance on independent living. A lot has been said already on independent living by the UN CRPD committee, by different TPOs, by several organizations, member states. But we need really we think there is a need for having more practical guidance to see how we move and how from institutions to community-based living, how we make that deinstitutionalization process a reality, and how we prepare society, as I said, to embrace persons with disabilities. The fifth flagship initiative is the creation of a European disability card. We have currently a pilot project. We had a pilot project with 8 member states that decided freely to recognize disability assessments from one country to another. And by that, providing access to preferential conditions that are offered to persons with disabilities in their countries. Now, we're going to do this now at European level, all the 27 member states. There is a legislative initiative being planned so that this card becomes a reality. The card will work to address the mutual recognition. The competencies to assess persons with disabilities will remain with the member states. But with this card, access to the preferential conditions on certain services will be guaranteed, and by that, with this card also we support the free movement, the right of free movement of persons with disabilities. The card will not cover social security, given that there is already an EU regulation on social security. The sixth flagship initiative is about quality, developing a quality framework for social services. And this is very linked to the flagship initiative on independent living. Without these social services of quality, the society will not be able to embrace and receive persons with disabilities in the community. So there is a need to clarify what is this quality and what is needed so that we have services that really serve the needs of persons with disabilities. And finally, we have an internal human resources strategy addressing, as I said before, as a seventh flagship initiative, address the persons working in the EU institutions. So in total, we have 57 actions for the European Commission and 23 calls for member states. As promised, I'm going to focus on one of the flagship initiatives, which is the flagship initiative called Accessible EU. What is it? I read now from the strategy, is in 2022, so last year, the Commission will launch a European Resource Center, Accessible EU, to increase coherence in accessibility policies and facilitate access to relevant knowledge. The idea is to create the conditions so that the policies on accessibility can really be implemented. This cooperation framework will bring together national authorities responsible for implementing and enforcing accessibility rules with experts and professionals from all areas of accessibility to share good practices across the sectors, to inspire policies and developments at national and EU level, as well as to develop tools and standards aiming to facilitate the implementation of EU law. And we started working, as the flagship said, the preparation in the disability platform. What we did to create that Accessible EU Center was we started consulting member states, experts, and also civil society. And we launched last year a call for tender. And we also took into account the input of the European Parliament that produced a report to indicate what they thought the Accessible EU should be. I would like to say that the idea of Accessible EU is really to support the implementation of EU accessibility legislation. I presented just now the European Accessibility Act. It's a milestone in legislation, I would say, worldwide on the approach to accessibility, because it really puts clear obligations on products and services before they are placed on the market. It is an enforceable piece of legislation in which we have authorities checking, we have got the possibility to go to courts, penalties will be put, and it requires really that economic operators will implement it, but also it will require that public authorities will check. And we need for that to have knowledgeable, competent persons, experts on accessibility. And here is where the Accessible EU idea came. To connect stakeholders. All these people are going to be working from different sides, also academia, teaching about accessibility. I have minutes, okay. Teaching about accessibility. And we needed to create a one-stop shop for knowledge on accessibility and use training. I have to say that we really need this because, the Accessibility Act transposition, the deadline was last year, in June, and we had to launch infringement proceedings for 24 of the 27 member states. So we are lagging behind, and it is really important to create that competencies. So what type of activities? The activities of the center, they are organized around 4 pillars. First, about general communication services, communicate about the legislation and the available information, support professionals for excellency, then to have bench learning, in which we are going to have a lot of trainings, and other services related, for example, to standardization studies in order to enhance the knowledge base. And the idea is to do that with the creation of a community of practice for actual experts, but also for new actors that need to be participating into this process. So the categories of activities are from networking activities, awareness raising activities, workshops with multi-stakeholders. We want to break the silos between ICT, built environment, and transport so that experts, as technology is permeating all areas of life, experts will be able to handle all those areas together in a coherent manner and in a seamless manner. It's about training, but it's also about mutual learning and standards. Standards in the sense of supporting standardization. We have issued a mandate and a standardization request for accompanying the European Accessibility Act, and this standard standardization process is on its way. Is not pending of EU funding. Let me be very clear. The standardization organizations have accepted this work, so they have to do it, but there are possibilities at EU level to support with funding. And that funding, some support will come through this work on the knowledge base, but also there are other possibilities. But as I said, this work is ongoing. There will be revision of 3 existing standards in the area of ICT, built environment, and design for all, and 3 new standards for non-digital information for support of emergency communications, answering, and support services. To finish, to give you some practical information, the contract for the Accessible EU Center was signed in December last year. It's a consortium led by Fundación 11 and some partners, but also with national experts. Each member state has experts, because the idea is that these activities that I mentioned before happened at national level. I am aware of the intention of partnering with more experts, with organizations that are providing trainings already in order to build synergies and enhance capacity. In the consortium, there is also several organizations, including also persons with disabilities and older persons. Yeah, the idea is to create a repository of information and a database of people, so that there are connections between these people and we can have enhanced capacity at national level. To give you an idea of the volume, there's going to be around 88 events spread out throughout the Union per year, and this will go on for 4 years. So if you are interested, reach out to the center. If you are interested in participating as an expert, as someone that wants to learn, or share your knowledge and do the trainings, please reach out to the consortium, and we really hope that this will help to make accessibility a reality. So thank you for your attention, and that was my presentation. I don't know, as I have no moderator, I can moderate myself. So if there is anybody that would like to put a question, if I can see you, I will be happy to reply. No questions? There is a question there, I think. Yes? No? No. Okay. Oh, yes. Please go ahead.
I have one. Hello. My name is Rui from the Federation of Cerebral Palsy, and I want to know if there is any action planned for make the elections for Parliament next year more accessible. If there is any action planned for next year to make the elections for the European Parliament more accessible for people with disabilities. Thank you.
Okay. I hope I understood correctly. If there are any actions in relation to elections of next year, okay? Well, not as such. I mean, we're not targeting elections, but as such, what we are targeting is the accessibility of any initiative at national level. So we know that there are actors, there are public authorities responsible for making elections inclusive and accessible, and if there is interest in particularizing some trainings, the accessibility of elections involves many areas. It's about the built environment, it's about the ICT, it's about the information before the elections, so that campaigns and politicians' messages reach out to the people. So all that would be embedded as the consortium is now making the detailed program. I would not dare to commit to a particular event, but why not? I mean, if there is interest, as the areas are very relevant, all those areas are covered, in any case, any of these trainings will serve the purpose to improve elections, because the Accessible EU is about the training of industry, economic operators, but also public authorities that are going, as I said, to be checking and to be also implementing accessibility. Okay? So I don't know if there are more questions. Yes, please.
Okay, I hope this works. Gernot Reinthaler, ÖZIV Bundesverband from
Can
Austria.
You speak louder?
My name is Gernot Reinthaler from ÖZIV Bundesverband, Austria. And I have a question about participating on a national level. Is there also some consortium or some kind of person which we can address on a national level if we want to participate as experts or service providers in the accessibility plan? Or is it only on the EU level?
No. So the intention is really that the events happen at national level, the majority of them. There will be some activity at European level, but most of it will happen at national level. In Austria, we have one expert, which is Klaus Hockner. I don't know if he's here, no? If you know him.
Yes, sorry, I'm here sitting beside you.
Okay.
Klaus Hockner is my boss. I can introduce you later.
Okay, so you can talk to each other.
Yeah.
I know Klaus, okay.
Okay, super.
Exactly, and see, you know, what are the priorities at national level. We are also consulting the representatives of the member states in the disability platform. To that, you can contact our colleagues. I don't know if they are here. Yes? Oh, Konrad is there, no? Do I see you right? Konrad, raise your hand. Through the disability platform, we have the Ministry of Social Affairs, and we have been asking them what are the priorities in your country to feed the the process to help the contractor, of course. We are working with the contractor. Yeah?
Maybe we can do other questions internally. Yeah?
Whatever my new moderator tells me. So no problem. We can proceed then afterwards. And I thank you very much for your attention. And I remain here in case you have questions. Thank you.